in a second. Hey, good evening and welcome. A few little technical glitches, but we're here. Lots of love from the Catskills, and I'm being joined by Brianna Arrington. I hope I pronounced your name
Yep,
correctly.
it's perfect.
Hi, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Great, thank you. I mean, it's it's still hazy. I can still see smoke, but it's nothing like it was. So that's the good news.
That is
So it's a
good.
little bit better here. I don't know what part of the country or world that you're in, but
Same
but
time zone, but down south. I'm in the metro Atlanta area.
right, maybe my psychic senses, because right before you said that, I heard Atlanta in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think you have an Atlanta accent, but anyway. So let me just
Yeah.
say a few quick hellos because people are starting to come on and find us, and we'll get started. So, hi, Carissa and MT and Susan and Yvonne and Felicia, and so far that's it. But it is a Sunday evening. People will find us, and if you're
Yeah.
watching this as a video, great. Welcome. And let me see what else. So, spiritual awakening. Hi, Judy. Spiritual awakening happened in so many different ways, so many different styles. And last, just Tuesday, as a matter of fact, we had Matthew John on, who's been doing workshops and seminars for like a decade, holding retreats. It's very deep into his work. Now, Brianna, as I understand, is more newly awakened. She's really starting to find her gifts, I want to say. So, we're going to talk to her in a second about that because in this time period, and this has been prophesied by me and thousands others, that the 2020s, look at Edgar Casey stuff also, that this was going to be a big period of a huge global shift, but a big awakening in human consciousness. So I wanted to do these spiritual awakening videos and these interviews for you guys just to see how many different styles and how many different ways people awaken. And when I speak of awakening, I'm talking about spiritual awakening, just to make that clear, because that term's being thrown around a lot for people that have become politically aware and kind of know a little bit of the ins and outs of what's going in society. But spiritual awakening is a full-on shift into a new frequency. It's a seeing the world from a new assemblage point, a new vantage point, through more spiritual eyes, and starting to access higher intelligences, spirit guides, angels, and our own higher selves. And with those connections and that knowledge, we certainly can see through a lot of the agendas here on the living. So, Brianna, back to you. Please, if I can ask you, describe what your awakening was like. How that happened.
Yeah. I feel like it was something that definitely for me progressed over time. I know you speak about how it can be like sometimes it's a spontaneous thing or it's like this one big thing or it can happen, a little bit here, a little bit there. For me, it definitely has been a progressive experience. So, what really sparked it for me was when my uncle passed away in 2017. And it just started to really put things into perspective for me as far as, how short life is here on this plane of existence. And, you know, how precious it is, and just kind of put things into perspective, like, mm, put it into perspective in the sense of um, how important connection is, and how we can take things for granted. Um, and I want to say after that, that's when I really started to question a lot of things. At the time, I'd been doing a lot of drugs. I wasn't in the best part of like my life at all. I was down pretty bad. Um, that's when I started to, say, what am I doing? Where am I going? And this isn't how I want my life to be. I don't have a good connection with my family. I was like, I want to start to change things up and get myself together and figure out what it is that I want to do, because it just felt like I was living on autopilot for so long. So over the course of the next couple of years, that's when I started to lay off the drugs for the most part. Start to take more of a introspective look. Definitely started losing a lot of who I thought of as friends at the time. what do they call them, fair weather friends, not really friends, but just people that you get together with. And then when my father passed away in 2018, that's when, like, it's like everything was like building up to this moment. But then when my father passed away, like, that's what really pushed it over the edge for me. Like, I need to go off on my own. I really need to. I need to go into my cocoon. I knew I needed to do something different. I wanted to get away from everything that I'd known and everything that I was around. I felt like I needed to maybe reinvent myself is probably the best word that I could describe. So um, I left, moved with a friend. At first, I went to Las Vegas. That didn't work out. I think I stayed there for a few months. And then I ended up going and staying with a good friend of mine in Rhode Island and his family for a good while. And while I was there and really getting into like learning about um, different types of family dynamics growing up, learning about trauma, learning about the different things that I was experiencing. That's what really started to set the stage for me to have my awakening. And I actually did like make a journal entry about it. And I feel like if it's okay, I would like to share it with
Please,
you. I
yes,
feel
yes.
like that would be
The floor is yours, dear.
okay. I feel like this would definitely be like the best way to convey it because even when I read it, I forget the things that I experienced. So I'm really glad that I wrote it down. Um,
Me
but I
too.
wrote this December 26th of 2019. So about a year after my father's passing and me going deeper into my own personal healing and spiritual work at 4:59 a.m. on a Thursday. I lay in my room after watching chakras explained by The Last Airbender. I don't know how many people here like The Last Airbender. One of my all-time favorite animated series. I'd been thinking about how, according to this part of the show and its interpretation, in order to reach states of higher consciousness, one has to let go of all worldly attachments. I thought of someone that I used to be very, I would say, like, probably obsessed with. I'm not going to say their name. I thought of this person. I'd long since started abandoning material goods, social groups, needing hard drugs, slowly since losing my dad. My attachments had been chipping and falling away, but he is the one worldly attachment that I clung to. After watching and noticing the ways, big and small, I loosened my grip over time. I asked myself if I could truly let him go. Truly, and my answer surprised me, but it was yes. I felt my energy shift. The video had moved me to tears before, but even more so this time. Because now I understood. I rewatched the video and I thought on it when it was over. I thought about realigning my chakras from root to crown. I looked up how to do so in a search. I find one that feels right. It is discussing the root. The signs of imbalances resonate with me. At some point of perusing, I come across something that mentions angels. At this time, I'm still struggling um, with surrendering and knowing what is okay to engage in. I know there are other entities. I don't know the set offs and the dangers, and I want to protect my being. I pray about it. I ask the Creator if talking to angels is okay, and if it is, I want to meet them. I make sure my resolve is solid before asking. I remember how I started thinking of angels, looking up angel numbers when they were brought to me after feeling inclined. I started reading again. As I read more about the angel number and how it correlated to me and what I was doing, what I was going through, and what I needed to hear, I slipped into this state of trance of sorts where, starting from my head, I began appreciating each part of my body for what they provided me and others in the world. Some functions brought up past memories, some distant that I don't even remember because I was an infant. So vivid they seemed like they were my father's or my mother's, but they were mine. I took my time with this and truly enjoyed ruminating on it like a meditation of sorts. A group of mourning doves around the house reminded me that I nearly forgotten to mention my ears. When I finished, I felt light and I felt a little lightheaded. I was starting to read again when I felt that I should put it down or not pay attention to it. I felt a sharp central pain on the side of my arm. I had them crossed over my chest at the time as I was trying to keep warm, and it was as if to say that I should relax them. I did, and that's when the ringing started in my ears. Low, calming, and harmonious in both, like singing but in frequency. I'm usually a mouth breather, but my nose cleared suddenly in the meditation, so I breathed deeply from my belly. I felt an ascension. I went higher and higher. I went through what felt like a series of universal questions. I answered truthfully and freely, and it seemed the more I answered, the more I came to understand universal truth. The more truths were revealed within, like words appearing on paper. I felt the vastness of the universe and all that entails. I felt that I was guided. I felt that I was loved, maybe even a love from past lives. I felt open and free and activated, and it took my soul higher. It was more than ecstasy, feeling that kind of connectedness with everything, but not at all in a vulgar way, in a pure way that resonated from somewhere deep within. There was no end and no beginning, it just was or is. Light and dark swirled around, made one neutral gray color, and then danced again, signifying both are divine and important. It took me so high, I believe I connected to a center of myself, where my purpose lies, my true self and thoughts. I told myself things about myself I'd forgotten. I slowly started to float back down, and as I did, I told myself there was one more important thing that I felt I should know. I'm not really sure of the full message, and I'm not even still fully sure to this day, if I'm being honest. But apparently, I'm not quite ready. But here's what I took from it: two sides of the same whole, has nothing to do with my sanctity. It's something extremely important that I've forgotten or lost. Appears scary, but may not be. Struck a feeling of fear and resistance in me. The energy around the subject felt pressurized and stormy, not rainy, but highly windy, gray clouds and all encompassing. Paradox, something that I and everyone have the capability to comprehend and understand. I perceived it as dangerous or negative, but it is not dangerous. Placing my own ideals on the message, trying to understand, but I'm just not understanding, probably why I was not given the full message. I don't know how long I was having my mystical experience. I hope that someday, after I have done the inner work, I can make sense of the important message trying to be conveyed. But even still, it is the most profound thing I've experienced to date. Nothing short of fascinating, mind boggling, soul calling, and divine.
Wow. That's amazing. It's a couple of interesting things. When you first started talking, all of a sudden, like all these orbs came in and are saying the angels, like the angels are really working with you. And your story, as you started to progress, it kind of validated that. And yeah, that's amazing. And by the way, guys, I don't know if you guys see the delay. Actually, right now, it looks like it hasn't caught up yet. I don't know if you guys are seeing the delay between my voice and the image or not, but my Wi-Fi is all wacky like usual, so I apologize for that. But the good news is that we can see that. Now that I'm glad that you wrote that down. There's no way you would remember all that. I don't know.
No.
And you never really had spiritual training, right? Like if I didn't know better, I could almost feel like you were reading out of somebody's book that had some crazy awakening experiences, because it follows a lot of patterns that I'm aware of. And a lot of times when we hit our rock bottom, and we could go either way. We could either go down further, or the angels lift us up and we have an awakening or an awareness. And the other thing that really struck my attention is that after my brother passed, that was in 1998. A week later, his spirit came to me. I was camping out. I had to, take a break from my poor mom. I had to basically sit up all night and hold her hand. It was not the most fun time when somebody passes like her son.
Yeah.
But anyways, when I went up camping on the third night, his spirit came to me. And that's really the first very succinct spirit communication that I had. So that probably woke me up to my mediumship. So very good. So you've kind of touched on this, but if we're oh, actually, before I even ask that, I wanted to go a little bit back to childhood. Maybe you don't, but you're down to memory lane a little bit.
Mhm.
In hindsight, could you really see any clues of how you grew up or your perceptions that might have now, in this present moment, alerted you to the fact that you were going to have a really mystical awakening and it's going to change your entire life and set you on a whole new trajectory in life?
Yeah, actually, when I was younger, um, art was like everything to me. Like it was how I could express myself. It was how I could really be myself. So I remember wanting to write this story, and the story was about a girl who was born on a star, and that she was living on Earth, and she was being abused by who she thought was her mother, and it was just every day was just was hard. It was hard to be here, but she didn't know that she was from a star. Um, and I never actually fleshed out the story. It was just like something that came to me, and then kids just whoop, whoop just goes right over your head. But at some point, the people from the star were supposed to come back for her and take her back to the star. So I feel like that was one, and then another one is I used to have like this interesting daydream of like it was like me, but it wasn't me. Like I guess you could say it was an older version of me. One version wore white and the other version wore black. So at first I thought it was two different people, but as I got older I'm like, no, that was me. That it was me in both different forms, and that they would come together, and then I would just imagine them going off somewhere, but I couldn't see past that point. I think those were definitely context clues for me. Once I started to awaken, I was like, that's what that was about.
Wow, cool, cool. A couple of things. This wasn't on my original question, but in my mind, when you started talking, even before that, before we came on, I was like, "Oh yeah, she's a starseed. She's one of us." So I'm not surprised that you had that experience, and
Yeah.
that's part of the work we're doing here is really awakening to our starseed origins, our starseed types, and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, I don't know if this is one of your relatives or just picking up on you on a past life, but there's like a seamstress here. I want to say
Mm-hmm.
somebody who was doing a lot of sewing, and there's like it definitely. I mean, I know that you're living in the South currently, but this is definitely like a Southern family or like a Southern kind of an energy that's come in, and I don't know if that's a spirit that was coming through. That if you knew somebody like a relative that was just like sewing and maybe was even a seamstress, like that good at it, or if that was more like another lifetime. It could be either, honestly. And
It could be because I am interested in sewing. The only person that comes to mind is it could possibly be my great grandmother on my mother's side, but I don't know too much about her. I don't know too much about a lot of my family, if I'm really honest.
when you're saying that, honestly, I'm not too warm on this. I don't want to turn this into a psychic reading or anything. I think this is more like another lifetime. Just the fact, like a lot of
Yeah.
the things that we just have an interest in for no real reason. It's because we've experienced it in other lifetimes. Now, obviously, you're meant to transcend that and,
Yeah.
and to do like even more amazing things. And like I was saying in the beginning, some people have been at this a little bit longer. That they have
Mhm.
very kind of spiritual jobs like Reiki masters or channels or whatever, or spiritual teachers. But a lot of
Mhm.
spiritual teachers, and Eckhart Tolle really put this very well in this book, A New Earth, how one of the most powerful spiritual teachers you may ever meet may not be like Amma, like the hugging saint, or Eckhart Tolle, or somebody that speaks to thousands or millions of people. Maybe your cab driver one night that
Right.
just picks up on your energy and just gives you the perfect advice that changes your life or changes your perspective and just goes about life like behind the scenes and
Yeah.
works that way. So there's all these different styles, but your energy is so much larger than life. I have a feeling when you're ready, you're going to go really public with your work. I mean, it's your choice, but you do have a certain persona that lends itself very well to public work. And my feeling is that you're finding your throat chakra more also, and
Definitely.
finding that sense of courage and faith. It's a 1,000-year program, no rush. Nobody's trying to rush you, saying, "Oh, by next month we expect you to be talking here or doing this." It can happen 20
Right.
years, 30 years, or another lifetime, but it's definitely there. So obviously, you came into your awakening on the heels of a lot of challenge or missed a lot of challenge, and that's how it happens sometimes. But as the process came up, and you talked about a few things like losing friendships, very common. Um, in the, I think it was actually the book Initiation. They spoke on that by Elizabeth Hatch. Um, but what challenges came up, after your awakening?
Well, okay, so I lost the fair weather friends, but one thing
Right,
that was
right,
definitely
exactly.
challenging after the awakening was losing friends that I thought I would never lose. Like I thought that
Yep.
we would be friends forever, you know. That hit me really hard because for me, family growing up, it wasn't it wasn't really close knit. So my friends were more like my family than my actual family were. So I'd say that hit hard. Um, like what do they say? You know, the higher up you get on the mountain, like um, I do not remember the expression to say in my life. But basically
Something like
that
the higher
there's
you
less
climb,
people.
the harder you can fall, or something like that. Or
That and like the less people you have around you, I was like I felt
that's
so
true. Yeah.
lonely. I felt like not too many people understood me, which was like I and it was weird too because like I also felt like okay, I understand now like that this is kind of like the progression of things. So it's like but while I understood it, the other half of me was like, man, but like but why? Or where is my people? Or where are the people who understand me? Or I just wish that I wasn't so alone, but I understood that it was necessary. But that was like the hardest part 'cause I don't like being alone. I don't think anybody does.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I was in college when I had my first awakening, and I too have a pretty extensive drug history. So it was fueled by hallucinogenics. Though I tell people I actually thought I'd come down. It was acid. I thought I'd come down, and then I went bike riding, and then phew, two flashes of light, and it all changed for me. I wonder of that. But it does get lonely. It does get hard, and I started to isolate, and I was a pretty social person, quiet and always introspective, but still pretty social. And I just couldn't be around people. So I
Yeah.
definitely get that, and that does get lonely, and it's almost an inevitable. As you awaken, you lose friends because you go in a whole new trajectory that they're not ready to go. But you'll
Yeah.
find new friends. You'll find your new tribe, and that's the really cool thing. The reason I have Carissa's comment up is because it's very intuitive of her. Because I mean, I know you mentioned art and creativity already, but if you ever, like, say, done spirit art, or just felt like the pen or whatever medium you use just kind of moves on its own, and there's
Yeah.
either figures or angels or extraterrestrials or people that have passed, she's gonna show us. It's show and tell tonight. Wow, you're good. um, Very good. Even with my glass, I can't fully make out the figure, and I'm hovering right over my microphone, so it probably sounds like crap. But that's
I know it's kind of
beautiful.
hard in the glare from the
No, I
from the
can see it.
glass.
So
But yeah, and especially more so now because before it used to be I would just draw just the trends or what I was interested in. But as I've been getting older and like more connected, it just seems like I can definitely see like that marriage beginning to happen between like um the spirituality and my artwork and like because like I said earlier, like art for me has always been like a form of expression and like um, a way to express. So I can see like how it's coming together and like how it wants to come out and Like I can feel that I'm on that precipice. I just haven't made that jump yet. Completely.
Again, no rush. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to learn to be present in the journey. That's where the learning happens. We're so
Yeah.
programmed to be like focus on that outcome that we miss all the beauty along the way. So I have a few colleagues, friends. Joe Shield comes to mind from Lilydale, and Susan Aver. These are two mediums that do spirit art. So when they're channeling, they start drawing, and they can draw a very sometimes an exact likeness to the spirit that's coming through, and sometimes more of a general resemblance, depending on the strength of the spirit coming in. So I have a feeling as you develop, it may be that you're drawing more people's angels or their spirit guides. But I have a feeling you're going to tune into that. It's just a feeling. So on that note, what gifts started to awaken? And again, I know you touched on this already, so we're going to kind of fine tune it. But what like say psychic gifts or spiritual gifts? Like sometimes people start to recognize that they can start to heal people. That's what happened to me. That I could send energy and heal people after my awakening, and I was like, wow, I didn't know you could do this. That was cool. Um,
Right.
so did any and
I could do
there's others, but
that.
yeah, a lot of my audience knows I could get on a roll and talk and talk and talk. So I'm not going to do that, to you. But what gifts do you feel started to surface like after you had, which sounds like kind of a series of experiences that really led to a profound awakening?
Yeah. Um, I feel like I always kind of had what do they call them for prophetic dreams? Prolific.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
prophetic dreams, right?
yeah,
I feel like those got more intense. Um, I started seeing spirit orbs more often. Um, and then I remember one night while I was still in Rhode Island and I was still going through my awakening, I remember just feeling down. And I was looking up at the ceiling and the number 343, like it kind of appeared like on my ceiling in blue light. I don't know what that's called. I don't even know if anyone else has ever experienced that before, but like numbers appeared on my ceiling and then I looked them up so that I could see what the message was. Um, Other than that, oh, and then I, the other month or so, I thought I saw my mom. I thought she like came to me, and it was like I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping, and um, I don't want to say what I saw because I don't want to speak it into existence, but I saw something, and something pertaining to her, something that maybe was a possible future, and that kind of spooked me. And then a couple weeks later, something actually happened, and I took the initiative to get her where she needed to go. And that's all I'll say about that. So I don't really know what that is. I don't even know if that's mediumship. I don't know what the numbers were. And then my uncle did tell me, or not my uncle, I call him my uncle because he's one of my dad's old friends. But he told me when I was younger that I freaked him out looking in a mirror that was behind him. And when I looked up what it was, apparently it sounded like I was mirror scrying. I've never tried that consciously.
ah,
So there was that too. Other than that, my intuition's been a lot more heightened.
oh, bad. These are all part of your soul record. All these gifts, these abilities, and it's interesting. I think you're pulling your mom's energy, and yes, that is definitely is mediumship, and they do come to you because I feel like she's very caring. She's very strong. I feel like she's a very spiritual soul, but had a hard life. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, and may not have come across as super spiritual, but she was, and you would have known that. I want to say, and and I feel like she's kind of like a guide for you. So what I wanted to ask you, because you're what we call more of the newly awakened, and I've
Mm-hmm.
had such a good mix, and I have a couple more coming in July. Um, but what advice would you have for people that are just awakening, that maybe questioning what's going on to them? They may be like, oh my God, what's happening to me? Help, help.
Yeah. I'd say Don't stop asking questions.
Good
Don't stop
advice.
being curious. You know, um, I know there can be a lot of clapback out there as far as, not questioning things, or, not looking deeper into things, or not asking too many questions. I don't feel like there's ever such thing as too many questions. Curiosity is one of the best things out there, especially when it comes to awakening and expanding your consciousness. Yeah, if anything, like, stay curious and ask questions and make waves, and just keep learning. I feel like that's what we're here for.
Absolutely, yeah. Great advice. Because times we were a little bit shy about speaking up and asking questions, and I could take that a step further and say just don't give an f about what people think about you, and
Yeah,
then
that
take it from
too.
there. Because I always just
Especially that.
yeah, if you're a sensitive, empathic soul like me, and you feel people's frustration or whatever, when you're anyway, I think kind of get the I want to get back to a comment here. Oh, here we go. Do you like to write? I don't know if you see the comments coming up when I flash them, but I was
Oh,
Chris. I was thinking the exact same thing when she was talking about that would be a perfect children's book. Because these kids are just like really really amazing. There's so many of them, are born awakened basically, and by the time they're 2 or 3, they're pointing to spirits. When they can talk, they're naming your dead relative. I mean, they're gonna put me out of a job. That's why I'm segueing into doing more teaching. But they're that good. So another thing that I want to ask, and if you guys have any quick questions, feel free to chime in. If you have any visions about humanity, like what direction we're going, and what advice, or maybe what you feel like what your niche might be as far as like part of this awakening. Again, maybe just being behind the scenes, although I just don't see as a behind the scenes person. Just
I
to
get
get out
that so
there.
often.
Which is good. I mean,
Yes.
it's not bad to be behind the scene, but it's good to be like a new earth leader basically, and I feel like that's kind of what you're training for, and that your guys are really training for you for that. And they're kind of, as I'm talking, they're kind of saying, don't you don't have to be drastic about things. If you enjoy a drink or a toke or whatever you like to do, do it. It's not a big deal. They want us to be happy, because things like that. It's all legal. Who the heck cares, right? But
It's funny because I actually gave up weed this year.
good for you.
Yeah.
Good
I
for
have
you.
had a couple of drinks though, so I'll definitely keep heating that. I try to stay away from it, but
Yeah,
it is nice every once in a while. I
yeah,
won't. I
yeah.
won't lie.
Balance. Yeah,
Yeah.
balance. No, that's the main thing. So anyway, what was I asking? I'm kind of getting lost in my own thoughts a little bit here, but yeah, just about if you have any like visions of the future, or how you see things going.
Um, I will say that one of the things that came through to me while I was in Rhode Island was definitely that things were gonna get darker.
Hmm.
Um, like, and I'm not gonna lie, like, much darker. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That it was gonna get much darker, but after that, they said there's nothing to fear. Like, keep persevering, keep being strong. But after that, like immense happiness. Like, it was like going from being in a dark cave and like not being able to see anything to like being out in the sun for the first time. It felt like being a newborn out in the sun. So, definitely be prepared. Um, and just know that better times are coming for sure because it was already written anyway. And then as far as what do I see myself doing, I've been guided towards writing, been guided towards speaking, definitely been told that I should be out in the spotlight. So I'm gonna try to get
When you're
over my.
ready,
I
when
feel
you're
like
ready.
you, like when you were like, "Oh, I didn't want to start this channel because because I don't like being in front of the camera." Like, I feel that I have had terrible stage fright. I don't know if I'm hiding it well. I'm hoping I am, but
You're
I
doing
feel the
great.
same way. uh, Yeah, so I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Among other things, I have so many interests. Some things I know that I have like absolutely no idea what I'm gonna be doing. I know it's gonna happen, but those are what I know and like what's in my awareness now, um, that I'm gonna do or that I see myself doing.
Yeah, as Susan
Yes.
Aldous is aptly pointed out, we are into the storms now, but when we come out of it, the light will be brighter than ever. Yeah,
Yes.
it's like when when you were talking, I just flashed onto this episode of The Simpsons, that show, and what was it, Krusty the Clown,
Yeah.
4 o'clock or whatever, they'd sit inside and watch Krusty the Clown, Krusty the Clown, Krusty the Clown. Then what happened? There's a power outage or something like that, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like you'd see the kids coming out their houses, they'd be rubbing their eyes and be like, wow, oh my God, there's a big bright world out there, and then all of a sudden they start playing and everything.
Right.
And I think
Oh,
that
I
that's
hope
a
it's
perfect
that.
analogy. We're in that now. I mean, look, I mean, you might have, even as far south as where you are, you might have smelled a little bit of the smoke. Because I don't know if it reached that far south, but I think it did. But that's just another thing. It's like what is it? Over 100, 170 some odd fires to spring up in one afternoon in eastern Canada. I mean, yeah, it's been dry, but Eastern Canada, not fire country, and we
Yeah.
just have to stay in our heart, right? Stay in our power. It's
Yeah.
always daylight. It's always bright in the heart center, and the more of us that do this, the easier the transition is going to be. Well,
Absolutely. Move when you know you need to move. Speak when you know you need to speak. All of those things. Just, I feel like staying in the moment is just super, super important.
yeah,
That's all that we can focus on. At the end of the day, we don't have anything but the present moment. It's been said time and time again. It's going to keep being said. Like, that's what we're supposed to do.
yeah. Well,
And things
I
will work out.
yeah, but I need a little tape thing so that instead of saying the same thing every week, just play the tape recorder. Like
Yeah.
presence, heart brain coherence. The hearts can't be programmed. Stay present, stay grounded. And Chris is saying, "Fear not." Yes, a great awakening upon us. Thank you, Susan. We can all stay in the heart of the storm, the heart, the eye of the storm. Yes, exactly. So
Mhm.
great, very meaningful interview, and I'm glad that we connected and did this. Any parting thoughts? Not to put you on the spot or anything, but and any last things that you can think of?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no. I'm
this
on
is
the level.
yeah, very very complete, and I understand you like I definitely had deer in the headlights syndrome anytime that a camera was shining on me, and your spirit had told me in the New Year's Eve night 2019, right before 2020, right before the pandemic, get on YouTube. And I was like, are you crazy if you see me on camera? But it's the best thing that I've done for a lot of reasons. But you take it in the personal perspective, it forced me to reprogram my mind. It forced me to get out there and practice and face my discomforts. And now, I mean, there'll always be a slight tinge of nervousness every time, but it's only a slight tinge. Right now, I just feel very comfortable. And I know people that have been on this channel for 3 years. We're coming up to our third anniversary, which is mind blowing. You've seen the changes
Congratulations.
definitely from when I started to where I am now, and they don't know where I was before. So keep up the good work, and thanks for being here. We love you. We appreciate you,
Thank you. Love and appreciate you all as well.
and that's good. So I'm going to be taking a slight hiatus from doing interviews till later July. Then we're going to pick them up again. I have to go in the studio. I've got to make some courses. Lots going on here.
Mhm.
And this week, what else are we going? Well, we've got a lot going on because we've got a new moon on the 18th. It's a very powerful new moon in exact opposition to the galactic center over there, like 26, 27 degrees Gemini. I don't know the exact
That's a starseed
viewpoint.
degree. 25, 26, and 27.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because the galactic center, it oscillates slightly during the year, but it's right around 26 Sagittarius.
Okay.
So that's that exact
Interesting.
opposition. And then we have mediumship on the 19th, and we're going to have a solstice transmission. We're going to do a group prayer on the 18th also. Lots going on. So the notices will go out again. Thanks again. And Pam is acknowledging that the nodes are going to change, which means something to me because I'm a Libra sun. So that definitely is significant in my world that the nodes are going to shift to Aries Libra from Scorpio Taurus. All right, thank you. Yes, you're getting so much love here. Thank you, Claire.
Everybody.
And stay in the light. Venus and Leo, yes, and Mercury just went into Gemini today. So that's another shift of planetary energy. All right. Thank you. We're ending now. I promise. Good night. Thank you, everybody.